In our previous episode, we weighed buying a house in a gated community against living in a standalone house, or buying a land and building your own house from the ground up. No pun intended. Now, we talked about lifestyle, we also talked about freedom, the costs, and also the convenience you can enjoy. And judging by the feedback, this is a conversation that has resonated with many. And while making a choice between the two options is one thing, understanding the long term implications is another. So today, we're taking this conversation a step further. We're comparing the real cost of both options, that is the value you get, the hidden risks, and also the lifestyle trade-offs that you can expect with each of the options. Now, we'll also be considering the practical and financial implications of buying into a gated community versus building your own house from scratch. I'm Desmond Kafui, and you're welcome to another episode of Ghana Ground Up. Very often, we assume that knowing something about a matter is enough to make the right choices about that matter. And you may be shocked to know that what you know is just the surface, and we don't want to serve you just a starter and hope that you'll be full. We want to serve you a balanced meal so that you decide what you want on your plate. If you're thinking about building, buying, or just curious about what's really worth it in the housing scene, this episode is for you. So then, let's get into it. Let's start with the buying process. Now, this process usually deals with two things. One is the comfort, and then the other is how much control you have on what you're getting. Now, when you're buying into a gated community, you're essentially paying for convenience. The infrastructure is already there, so you're getting access to a well-planned layout with roads, your drainage systems, electricity, and water. And sometimes you even have backup power and water. Now, you pay either upfront or through a structured payment plan, and once your keys are handed over to you, you can move in almost immediately. It's like ordering wache from your favorite joint, and you don't know how it's made, you don't know how it's prepared and all that, but then it's packaged and ready for you once you place an order. On the flip side, building your own house is a hands-on experience. It begins with you buying the land, and this comes with its own set of challenges. You need to sort out the land verification process, you need to sort out the documentation and potential litigations, or even you may have to deal with some land guards. And after that, you have to design the house, you have to apply for building permits, you need to find a reliable contractor and also source for the materials to build that house. Every decision becomes yours to make, and also every headache that comes with it becomes yours to bear. It's more like you're cooking wache and you have to start from scratch. So the ratio of rice to beans, whether you want it plain or colored, everything, even the salt, it all depends on you. So all you have to do is get all the ingredients right and make sure everything turns out right. Now let's talk about the money. What can you expect and how will you be affected? Now, buying a home in a gated community usually means facing higher upfront costs. The prices are typically quoted in dollars, and sometimes they range from, let's say, $150,000 to over $1 million, depending on the size of the property, the location, and also the finishing. And that's about 2.5 million Ghana cedis to well over 16 million Ghana cedis in today's terms. Now, most developers allow you to pay over 12 to 24 months, and normally these houses come unfurnished. You may probably have your AC installed, your wardrobes, and probably a fitted kitchen, but then the real finishing is left to you to take care of. But then if you choose to build your own house, you get to spread the cost over time. Maybe you start with just the land, and then you can start with the walls, and then you build a wall to seal off the land, and then you can start with the foundation, and you take your time to build up, and then you get to your decking stage, you get to your roofing and all that, and you determine the pace of construction. So that way you have some freedom, and also there's no one breathing down your neck about paying for any cost here and there for you to be able to take possession of your property. Everything is at your pace and you have freedom to do whatever you want. I know many people would prefer this freedom, but then with this freedom comes its own hidden costs. Unfortunately, inflation is a silent enemy here. And you'd see that a bag of cement that used to cost about 30 cedis some years back now costs over 100 Ghana cedis. And the cost of labor also keeps going up. And if you're not keeping a tight control of the project, you'd soon realize that by the time you reach even maybe the roofing stage, your cost may have gone way beyond what you planned for. And you may also see that if you don't have a tight grip on the project, instead of probably the project taking you a year and a half or 2 years, you may end up going into the third year by the time you're even at the roofing stage. And that's not all. You need to bear in mind that building the structure itself is just half of the journey. you need to now finish the house, as in paint it, get the tiling done, wiring, plumbing, installing all the fixtures, and making sure the place is ready as a home to be lived in. And after that, you need to finish it. Charlie, it's not easy. So in summary, gated communities come with higher short-term financial commitments, but then they are time-bound. So you get to feel intense pressure, but then that lasts for just a relatively short time. And once you're done paying, you're good to go. And it helps if you're also taking a mortgage, but then don't be in a hurry to take a mortgage without knowing what it entails. Now, building your own house gives you room to breathe. But then if you're not careful, you could spend more money than you planned, and also you may end up building over a longer period than you anticipated. Now that we have an idea of the money you'll be spending, let's move on and talk about what that money will get you. Now, in a gated estate, you typically get a compact plot, probably 30 feet by 50 feet or maybe 40 feet by 60 feet, and these are common. And you may get a full plot, but then that will impact the price you'll end up paying for your property. And you need to understand that land in gated communities are not just ordinary lands, these are fully serviced lands. So buying a land in a gated community will cost you much, much more than just buying any other land around the gated community. Within the boundaries of the community, the lands will be much, much higher, probably at least 25% to 50% higher than what you would get right outside the gates of that community. But often you don't get to always choose the size of the land that you want for your property. It's very often predetermined by the type of house that you're going to buy. And if you want to buy, let's say, two houses and merge them to get a bigger unit, that's also on the table for you to consider with a developer. But generally, the houses may share walls, or they may also have maybe some tight spaces here and there, and may not give you so much room as you would have loved if you were building your own house. Generally, you'll get decent finishing, but then sometimes you see some developers cutting corners to save costs. And guess who will be paying for this cost-saving measures down the line? You. And this isn't always the case, but then you've got to inspect the property, get a professional to help you inspect the property before you make a full financial commitment to that property. So in all, you're paying for the location, you're paying for security, the amenities, and the overall convenience that come with a gated community unit. And you're not necessarily just paying for a custom design or probably a superior construction. But when you build your own home, you decide everything. You want your kitchen in the back of the house instead of the front? Done. You want the higher ceilings and you want probably marble floors and a walk-in closet? That's your call. And if you find the right contractor and manage your site very well, you can get excellent quality for the same or less than what you would get in an estate. And you also tend to get more space for your money, especially if you build outside of a prime urban area where land is cheaper. So you can buy, let's say, more land for a good price, and then you can build maybe your mansion or whatever you want to build. But then that is not the case if you're buying in a gated community. That said, if you don't supervise your construction properly, you are likely to run into costly mistakes. You can have a crooked wall, you can have a leaking roof, you can have faulty plumbing and other unpleasant issues. So even though building your own place offers some level of customization and potential value, it also comes with more risk. So we've covered the buying experience, the money matters, and also the value for your money. Now let's tackle the issue of lifestyle. What kind of home do you want? This is where personality really comes in. Now, when you're considering gated communities, they're designed for structure. So they have rules, and some of these rules could be like, let's say, no loud music after 10 p.m. You can't hang your laundry on your balcony, or you can't even paint your house in a certain color without approval from the homeowners association. And there are other rules to abide by. But then in return, you get peace of mind, you get order, you get security, and also uniformity. And your kids can safely ride their bikes in the estate, and you can also probably go for your morning or evening jogs in the estate without worrying if someone is following you. And even better, you're not likely to wake up one day to a chop bar or a drinking spot opening next door. So these are some of the advantages that you get to enjoy when you buy in a gated community. Now, if you're living in a standalone home, you call all the shots. You do whatever you want. Let's say you want a garden, you want a garage, you want a goat pen, all that. I mean, nobody's going to stop you. And let's say you want to rent out your boys' quarters or probably convert the porch into a barber shop. I mean, just go for it. But then you also need to understand that Doing all these things, or all this flexibility and all this customization, may introduce a certain level of chaos, and you will have to bear the consequences of your decisions. For example, you can't regulate the noise from your neighbors. Probably the best you can do is to complain and probably end up having disputes with them. But then, I mean, just like you, they also have their freedom, so they can do whatever they want. So you may want to probably pray for a correct neighbor or correct neighbors if you're going to enjoy your home. In some cases, you may also have to deal with land disputes even way after you've built your property. And other things like waste management, your utilities, everything is on you. If something goes bad, it's all on you. So unlike gated communities where the waste management is taken care of and everything is streamlined and all that, when you live in a standalone house, you take care of everything yourself. So if your rubbish is not collected in a week or two, nobody really cares, and nobody's coming to check if that has been done. You will have to do all the follow-ups and make sure everything is done right. So if you like things to be very neat, controlled, and very predictable, then you probably may want to live in an estate. But then if you love the freedom and also you don't mind a little hassle here and there, then you can buy your own land and build your own little kingdom. So we've covered the key factors that sets the two housing options apart. Now, that notwithstanding, there are some similarities that we also need to consider. It's not just about the differences here and there. Now, here's what both options have in common. First, your due diligence. Now, this is very essential, and this is not something you can skip over. It's non-negotiable. Now, whether you're buying a land or you're buying a house, you need to verify the property documents, and you also need to get a lawyer to help you check the documents. So you need to check the land title, and please, please, please read the documents, read the sealed documents. Don't just assume that you understand what is written there. And this is not like, let's say, the manual of a device or a phone that you buy and then you just throw away the manual and you figure out how to use the phone over time. Buying a property is not like that. What you sign on to is what you will be held to. So if you don't want any issues down the line, make sure you take your time to read every single sentence or statement or every clause. Read everything just so that you keep yourself from potential trouble or potential issues later, maybe down the line. So do well to read the documents, or get a lawyer as well to be a second eye to read and give you clarity on what you may miss out on. So this due diligence process is often the stage that can nip a potential issue in the bud or be the melting pot for future court cases. You definitely don't want to be in court after buying a property that you invested a lot of money, blood, and sweat in. Another common ground is that both options can appreciate in value. And I use the word can because you determine if your property appreciates in value and also by how much, mostly based on how well you manage that property. Now, gated estates in good locations will see faster value appreciations, but then land in growing areas like, let's say, OEB, Pokwasi, and Nsawam can double or even triple in value between 5 to 10 years if infrastructure development follows the whole boom of that location. On the side, don't assume that a new house equals a low maintenance house. Nope. Your plumbing, your roofing, your painting, all these things need attention. So a poorly built house and a badly managed estate house will both give you headaches. So do well to get your management right, and don't just assume that because it's a new house, everything is just going to be fine. Get the maintenance right. So then, who should go for what? Now, a gated community is ideal for diasporans or professionals with tight schedules who need a plug-and-play solution. And it's also good for families who value security, shared amenities, and the vibes that you can get in a community. And also anyone who doesn't want the stress of supervising the process of construction and all the headaches here and there. On the other hand, building your own home is best for people who want full control over their house design and also the choice of materials that go into the project. And it's also good for those who already own land and are working with some, little cash, limited cash flow here and there. And building your own house is also good for anyone who enjoys managing projects, or maybe you can hire someone to do it for you properly. In the end, choosing between a gated community and building your own home isn't just about buying a property. It's about choosing a journey. Now, one is smoother and more predictable, and the other is rougher and uncertain. But then often, sometimes, that uncertain journey can also be rewarding. Now, whatever path you choose, do well to plan properly. make realistic budgets, and ask questions to get clarity on anything and everything you need to know about. But most importantly, know yourself. Are you building or are you buying? We'd definitely love to hear from you. So drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, share this video with someone who needs help making the right decision. I'm Desmond Kafui, and this is Ghana Ground Up. I'll catch you in the next episode.